Hello friends, welcome to English Shorthand class. Ready? 1, 2, 3, start. Face of government. The fear of contracting the disease and infecting families is very real. Since the start of the pandemic, Pavitra Niranjan, 38, an assistant professor of pathology at Rajiv Gandhi Government General Hospital, one of the major state-run hospitals in Chennai, has tested positive twice. The second time she contracted COVID-19 in October, its impact was more intense. I developed fever, severe myalgia, and had to be hospitalized. Being a doctor who understands the progression of COVID-19, it was frightening. As she pushed aside her anxiety, recovered, and went on to become assistant resident medical officer for COVID-19 wards, her worst fears came true. Her father, in his late 60s, became infected and had to be hospitalized earlier this month. It stressed me out. For almost a year, I had lectured him to wear a mask, wash his hands, but he ended up in hospital, says Dr. Niranjan. The sense of fear is not only about getting infected. Medical professionals also fear violence and abuse from the families of patients. Harjit Singh Bhatti, National President, Progressive Medicos and Scientists Forum, works at a private hospital in New Delhi and has been dealing with COVID-19 patients for a year now. Families are angry and frustrated with the government, but doctors are the face of the government, he says. We try to ignore the verbal abuse, but I have seen physical abuse. One of my friends was beaten up by a family member. Young doctors and interns who face abuse can lose confidence. I lied. Francis J. Kattadi, 30, a senior resident Department of Critical Care, St. John's Medical College, Bangalore, had just finished his PG residency when the pandemic hit last year. Appointed to a COVID-19 ICU, he has already seen it all in this short span of time. Yet nothing prepares him for the despair he feels each day when talking to families of patients. They are difficult conversations, he says. In the second wave, the patients are younger and more critically affected. I have had to assure them that they will get better. Most of them don't survive. I feel helpless. How do I tell a new mother with 70% lung infection that she won't live to see her 3-month-old? Another patient asked if he would get to celebrate his 14th birthday with his mother next week. I lied to them all, he says. There is a generalized anxiety among most of his peers, says Dr. Kattadi. They suffer from mood disorders. Some young residents have asked for psychiatric leave. Earlier, we would go out to play football or catch a movie together, but we can't do all that now. The only way to get through this is to depersonalize, he says. At PVS Hospital in Ernakulam, a 32-year-old nurse says that most nurses are on duty for over 2 weeks without a break. Many of us are testing positive even after both doses of the vaccine. We recently lost a 42-year-old with no comorbidities to COVID-19. Such deaths are haunting, he says. Jamia Mol BR, 32, is a nursing officer in AIMS, New Delhi. Everything is drastically different this time, she says. The patients are younger, their condition worsens in just 2-3 days. We could have saved so many if there had been oxygen or blood. We felt completely helpless. All we can do is talk to each other, cry to each other. But the next minute we pick ourselves up and get back to work. More and more healthcare workers are reporting burnout issues, says Soumya Raj, a psychiatrist with the district mental health program in Ernakulam. Stress-induced sleep disturbances and anxiety are the most common complaints. Calls are also on the rise from ASHA workers whose workload has grown exponentially, says Dr. Raj. Dr. Krishna reiterates that we are likely to see more burnouts and post-traumatic stress disorder very soon if things continue at this pace. We often see PTSD after a catastrophic event is over, when people finally sit down and say, "Oh my God, this has happened to me." The flashbacks start, she says. As Ramya says, I think many of us are in the denial phase now. We just want to get a grip on this pandemic and return to normalcy, seeking help. Though there is a specific helpline for health workers in every district, the response to these has been poor, says Muhammad Ishuddin, nodal officer at the district mental health program, Kozhikode. This could be because they don't have the time to seek help or because of the stigma associated with mental health, he says. Dr. Fati echoes this when he says doctors don't talk about it. They are afraid it will affect their careers. And senior doctors and colleagues don't take it seriously either when their younger colleagues talk about feeling the stress. What can hospital administrations do? They can try and reduce work hours, get in more manpower, and make sure staff members get their days off, says R. Tara, Vice Chairperson, Schizophrenia Research Foundation, Chennai. Second is to make sure they get emotional support both at home and outside. This could be access to helplines so that they have someone to talk to if they want to, she says. Even something as simple as being given a few minutes break from the stifling PPE they wear, time off to eat, hydrate and use the restroom can help, says Dr. Krishna. But most importantly, she says they need a space that is conducive to talk. They need to be told that it is okay to not cope, that you are human, that it's okay to feel stressed, that it's okay to cry.